Okay, we're solving exercises related to the plotting workshop. We were working with a quadratic function. You can see the x squared in there, kind of like tells you that is a quadratic function. We already did step 1, the table of values, and we already did also step 2, the graph of the function. Yes, I put some points in here like to explain which points there were, but you don't have to do that. You just mark the points and you make the drawing. Today we're gonna solve step 3. Step 3 of this particular function that we have in here. Step 3's title is Step 3 Intercepts. For the intercepts, we're gonna have to find two things that we're gonna call Ix and Iy. A moment. Okay. Ix and Iy. For the Ix, we're gonna have to copy the function that we have in here. We're gonna copy it again, and instead of fx, we're always gonna put y equals. Okay, so instead of fx, you're gonna put y equals. We only do this for the intercepts. Okay, when we're finding the intercepts. If the original function has fx, when you're working on the table of values, you still need to copy fx, and when you substitute the numbers, you're still gonna put f parentheses the number you're substituting. We only change the fx with letter y when we are solving the intercepts. Now, if your exercise was y equals originally, then yeah, you can do y equals on the table of values. That's not a problem. So that same equation, we're gonna put it in I sub y as well. So what we're gonna do is, let's solve Ix first, and then we're gonna solve Iy. You're gonna see that usually Ix is a little bit more complicated than Iy. Iy, usually you get the answer immediately. It depends on the type of exercise you're solving, but for the majority of the exercises, yes, Ix usually is more difficult. What are we gonna do in the intercepts? The general rule for intercepts is that we're gonna look for the letter that is mentioned on the intercept. Like for example, this Ix stands for intercept on x, so I am gonna look for x, and the other letter is gonna be 0 always. Same on I sub y. I sub y, I am looking for y letter, and the other letter, which is x, is gonna be 0 always. So let's work with the x-intercept first. Instead of y, I'm gonna put 0. Okay. Now, because I don't like having 0 equals, I prefer the standard and classic equals 0. I'm gonna flip these two things. When I say flip, it means I'm not gonna move them. All I'm gonna do is copy them in different places. Okay. I'm gonna copy this thing identically, only that I'm gonna shift the places. I'm not gonna move stops from one side to the other one, in case you're wondering like, why is this thing positive and if I move it to the other side it's still positive? No, I'm not moving them. What I'm doing is something we call flip. You just rewrite them in different order. We're not moving them. Okay. Now, once that we move them, yeah, I just said we moved them. Oh my god! No, okay. Once that we flipped, we're gonna use something that we call quadratic formula. Some of you might know what that is, others may not. The quadratic formula is nothing but, like the name says, formula. Okay, it's this thingy that you can memorize or you can copy on your notebooks or somewhere on a chart, I don't know, or you can always copy it from there because it never changes. It's always the same. It's a formula. Okay, it's x equals negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. That's the formula. Yes, I know it by memory. What we're gonna do is that instead of each one of these letters, we're gonna put the numbers on from the original exercise. How are we gonna do that? We identify each letter with a particular number. The first number in here, or the coefficient in here, will be 1, because like obviously it's invisible 1. So 1x squared minus 2x minus 8. So the first coefficient, which is 1, that's going to be a. The second coefficient, which is negative 2, that's going to be b. And the third one, which is not a coefficient, is an independent term, it's only a number, we're going to call it c. Okay, negative a is going to be c. Okay, so those are the ones I'm going to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the formula again, and instead of those letters, I'm going to put inside parentheses, yes, inside parentheses, I'm going to put the numbers from the exercise. Okay, so the first one was b. B is negative 2, so I'm going to put negative 2 inside parentheses. Why do you put two negatives? Because the first negative is from the formula. The second negative is because the number is negative 2. Okay, then instead of b, I put negative 2. Instead of a, I put 1. I already told you, invisible 1. Instead of c, I put negative 8. And instead of a, I'm going to put 1. Okay, so that's basically the idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to perform these operations. Remember, you're not supposed to use calculators. So, okay, minus and minus will be plus. So minus times negative 2 will be positive 2. Okay, now the other one. We're just going to work on the power right now. Negative 2 squared. Remember, squared means you multiply twice the same number. So negative 2 times negative 2 is minus and minus plus, and 2 times 2, 4. So it will be positive 4. And now let's see the other one. I have negative 4, okay, times 1. That will be negative 4. And that negative 4 times negative 8 will be minus and minus plus, and 4 times 8, 32. Then I go with the other one, 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is, well, 2. Okay. What do I do next? I keep performing the operations. 4 plus 32, that's the one that's missing. So 4 plus 32 will be 36. The rest, I'm just going to copy it. Same way now with this thingy. I have 36, but inside a square root, so I can get square root of 36. What will be the square root of 36? Square root of 36 will be 6, and the rest I just copy it. Okay, now that we got this thingy, what are we gonna do? Okay, first, let's put some space between those things. Okay, what are we gonna do once we got here? If you notice, we have kind of like a double sign, plus minus. That means we have two possibilities for the answer. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split those possibilities. So I'm gonna make an arrow this way and another arrow in the other direction, okay, because this thing is gonna split into two different possibilities. Okay, from there I'm gonna put something like this. Okay, and I'm gonna copy. No, I'm gonna put this. Okay. This thing needs to be. Okay, in your case, it's gonna be easier because you're working on your notebook. You can do that. I am in a computer, so it's kind of like ugly to do this stuff. Okay, what you're gonna put in here is the same part of the exercise you were working on, but instead of putting plus minus 6, you're just gonna put plus. Okay, you're only going to use one of the signs. So you're going to put 2 plus 6 divided by 2. Okay? And in the other arrow, okay, after the other arrow, you're going to put x equals same thing, but instead of plus, you're going to put the minus. That's what I mean when I say that you split the possibilities. Okay, it could be either 2 plus 6 divided by 2, or it could be 2 minus 6 divided by 2. And we're going to solve each one of these thingies. Let's first take this line that is making this thing annoying. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's better. So let's see. We're gonna do this operation. Remember, no calculators. 2 plus 6, 8 divided by 2. And 8 divided by 2 will be 4. Now the next one. 2 minus 6 is negative 4 divided by 2. And negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Okay? So those two numbers that we got, those are the answers for the ix. What I'm going to do here next, well, I'm going to put I sub x colon, and I'm going to put these numbers as the answers. Okay? How? You put the x first, like I'm going to put this one first and then this one. Okay, you put the x first, which is negative 2, and then you put the y, because remember this is x comma y. Now these are x's, this is not y, okay? None of these ones are y. Remember the y was 0 originally, so I'm going to put 0 for the y. Now, but I just put the negative 2. What about the other number? Okay, I'm going to put a comma, and I'm going to put another parenthesis, okay? And in that other parenthesis, I'm going to put the other x, which is 4, comma, and the y is still 0. So I'm going to put 4, comma, 0. And that will be the ix, okay? That will be the first part of the intercept, which is kind of like the longest part. The other one's very simple. Let's do now I sub y, okay? What do we do in I sub y? The same thing, okay? You copy the formula of the exercise, yes, and the other letter is going to be 0. What is the other letter? Because I'm talking about I sub y, the other letter is going to be x. So dx is going to turn into 0. Okay, so instead of x, you're going to put 0. Kind of like the opposite way of the previous one. The previous one, the y was 0, and the other one, the x is 0. Okay, so what am I going to do with those things? Well, what you're going to do with those things is you're going to perform the operations. 0 squared is 0 times 0. That will be 0. Negative 2 times 0, that will be plus 0. Minus 8, you copy it. And then I continue. 0 plus 0 is 0. Minus 8, negative 8. Okay, I've already found the letter. Like I told you, this thing was going to be easier than the previous one. So once that you found the answer, you're going to put, give me a moment, you're going to put I sub y colon, and inside parentheses, you're going to put, remember the first number, remember this thing is x comma y, right? So the first number is the x, the second number is the y. What is the x in here? Negative 8? No, that is y. The x is 0 because that's the number you used for the x, which is always that number, okay? And the y will be negative 8, which is the one you found. And that will be the I sub y. And that's it. That will be step 3 of the intercepts, okay? It will be this thingy, which I could kind of like color so that you can see the answer. Okay, that will be the I sub x, and this one will be the I sub y. That will be step number 3, intercepts.